What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So massive shout out to Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, Dave Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Jeranism, Kirsten Smith, Life Is Short, Matt, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Renee, Sally Ballis, Sam Hine, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, and Tom Hawkins. Massive shout outs to all of you. Now, we are joined currently by Jose and 10th Man in G+, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set it for the live show.
Calculator with predictive capability. I can pull a calculator online and I can put a observer height, a distance, and that will give me a prediction. That's all I want. And then number 3, footage or pictures that evidence the shape of Earth. The key was taken by yourself, but I don't think Nathan have done any observations. So he has to choose somebody that he trusts 100% of everything they say 100% of the time. So if he trusts that one person 100%, he can present their footage or pictures. If not, if he doesn't have that, then he will not have the point. That's it. There's those 3 points. It's
You called
that
important enough to come and do a challenge?
Yes, I call it important because Nathan keep dancing and sliding out.
No, but
hang
on.
Yeah.
Just for the cursory understanding of this, hearing it for the first time in context from you.
You wouldn't be able to present any of the 3, right? You will deny all of them. You say, I don't have to show you shit like Nathan done it before.
Well, if you're going to talk, I can't get my opinion in, can I now? No, what I'm trying to say is what you're asking for is all opinion and hearsay. There's nothing about what you're asking. It can be proven.
Of course, that man. Yeah, just take a seat back and let the adults talk.
Well, you're silly at this point because you're saying you're going to produce a picture, but then when we ask where'd you get the picture from, you're going to say it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, bro. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a silly argument. That's like
hey, that's your point. So if it was you already lost the point because you wouldn't been able to present it, right? I guess.
So
you would tell I don't have to present this.
So you're gonna go into a court of law, make up a story, and the judge says, "Where'd you get it from?" You say it doesn't matter. I produced a
There's
story.
no court of law. There's just me. There's just me in here, Nathan. I'm in my dude. Look, I'm showing you my fourth wall, bro. Laptop and a Wi-Fi, bro. What are you talking about court of law?
Rumpus. See, globe tactic. My goodness, easy.
That's not globe tactic, bro. So hey, this is the most honest approach. You think this is a globe tactic, bro? I'm in my fucking.
You're Rumpus playing the victim. Now, the judge would say, "Where's your evidence for your picture?" You say, "I don't need one. I just need to produce one."
That's not part of the debate.
Your argument dies right away.
Yeah. Okay. So I brought the 3 points to the table.
You brought nothing to the table. You didn't even bring the table.
So are we gonna do this, Nathan? Are you gonna be man enough to step in, or are you gonna let that man just verbal diarrhea and obfuscate the points?
I don't know what your point is yet, Jose. I'm just listening to you chat with 10th Man while I set up for my live show.
Oh,
what is it you want? I'm here now. You've got my attention. I'll stop what I'm doing.
3 points. It could take a minute. It could take up to a minute. 3 points. Illustration of Earth as a whole. I want to see it, Earth. It could be a crayon drawing that your daughter draw. It could be something, anything of Earth as a whole. Number 2, a calculator with predictive capability that I can pull off the internet. I can put an observer height and a distance, and it will give me what's going to be hidden from the bottom up. And number 3, observations evidence in the shape of Earth that you have done yourself because you haven't done any observations like that, you can choose one person that you trust 100% their work. If you trust that person 100%, whatever they done, you can present their evidence. Those 3 points, that's all I need. Are you able to present in any of those 3 or not? That's it.
Sorry, let's go through that a bit slower. So, picture
a picture of Earth, evidence of Earth as a whole, a visual representation. I can present my screen. I can show it to you. All right, I'm going to present the points, and you tell me if you can present it or not.
If I can present a picture of all of Earth.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking me for?
Yeah. I'm not asking that you took the picture. I'm asking if you can present it. Yeah, I can present you Google Earth. That's number 1. That's not a picture. It's a graphic as for Earth. There you go. That's Earth. This is a representation of Earth. I got a couple websites I can go. All right, that's number 1. I can show you a few more.
Hold on. So you want me to present you with a picture of Earth? That's what you're presenting me stuff immediately. Yeah. I don't really understand what's going on here. So let's just slow down. Your question to me is, can I present a picture of all of Earth? And then you're showing that you can. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay,
let's see what you've got. Show me what you've got.
Okay, I got. That's not it. Yeah, I got it right here. Let me put this one. I'll show you this one. This right here. I got 6 pictures of Earth. Which one do you want me to click?
Any, just pick one. I don't care. It's all of Earth, right?
Yep. Earth as a whole. Yep. There you go.
Point to England.
That's a visual
Hold on. Point to England, please.
I don't know all the places in the map. Let me choose another one.
Just hold on. Slow down, Jose. Jose, do you want to go back to your picture that you just put up? Okay, stay with this one. I don't care which one.
Okay.
Yeah, you seem to be jumping around a lot. Slow down. So, can you point to England?
You gotta help me out here. I don't know where all the parts in the world is. Is somewhere around here?
You tell me. You said all of it was on this picture. This is all of it, right?
Oh, Earth as a whole. Yeah, no, it's not all of it because it's a sphere and there's many continents and parts behind the sphere.
Stop.
Yeah.
So you've challenged me to present a picture of all of it and claimed you can present a picture of all of it. But this is
Earth as a whole.
Jose, you seem to be talking through me a lot. I leave pauses for you.
No, but I don't want to let you misrepresent me. I say Earth as a whole.
I haven't got a chance to even speak. You're talking through me, aren't you, Jose? So do you want to shut up while I try again or not? Should we just end it here because you're incapable? You've taken the picture off screen. Jose, I'm trying to get you to shut up, stop moving your picture around, and you're just continually talking through me. So I'm going to ask again calmly, are you capable of shutting up till the end of my point and leaving the picture on screen? Or do you have to constantly fiddle and talk while I talk? It's a question.
Oh, you see me sharing my screen when I'm muted, yeah.
Okay. So I'll try once more. We'll see how far I get. You challenged me, point 1, to present a picture of all of Earth. And while the picture jumps around, it seems you're a bit distracted messing around with things rather than listening to me. So I'll start again. Let's see if you can actually pay attention rather than fiddling with things. Attempt number 3, Jose. Your first challenge was to present a picture of all of Earth to me. And then you very quickly went to your justification that you could present a picture of all of Earth. Now, you've just presented a picture. I've asked you to point at a specific location, and you've made it clear it's not on this one. And then you've made it clear that it's not all of it. So I'm a bit confused as to the point of your question when you're challenging me to give you a picture of all of Earth based on you being able to give a picture of all of Earth, but you can't. In fact, in your reification of a sphere model, it would be physically impossible for you to present a single picture of all of Earth. That wouldn't be within your capabilities and never will be in anybody's capabilities, and yet you're challenging me to do something that is beyond your capabilities based on your reification of a sphere world.
Oh, that's a goal for me? I didn't say all of Earth. I say Earth as a whole. This is Earth as a whole, as a sphere, right? And the parts of Earth that you don't see in the picture are behind this for this face that you see, because it's a sphere and the other continents and parts of the world are behind it. Are you able to present a picture of Earth, yes or no? Because we can move on to the next step, to the next point.
What? Move on. No. Let's just be clear here. You didn't present a picture of the whole. It wasn't on the picture. You gave a justification. Again, it seems I seem to leave gaps for you to talk, Jose. It seems you're talking through me again. In spite of the fact that I left a gap and let you get to the end of your point, you're now talking through me again. Did you notice that, Jose? Did you notice that you're talking through me now, Jose? I haven't concluded my point. I let you get to the end of yours, where you attempted, and you're doing it again, Jose. Every time you talk through me, I'll point out that you can't win, and you must talk through me like you're doing now. So I'll give you a third attempt.
Are you able to present?
Am I going to get a third attempt?
Yes,
we're going to just get your point and you talking through me non-stop.
To answer a yes or no question, Nathan.
Jose, you're not letting me speak. You're not letting me speak, Jose. You're not letting me speak. You're rumpusing me, Jose. Is it because you're being obliterated, Jose, that you can't stop talking while I talk? I haven't made my rebuttal. I let you make yours. Now I'm going to address the rebuttal that you just made. Hopefully uninterrupted by a triggered globehead fundy. Let's see if I can get on. This is the third attempt, and he's already talking because you've already been demolished. I am yet to get an opportunity to respond to your rebuttal, but you're going to talk through my every word. So I'm going to try again. Let's see if the fourth attempt will be successful without Jose rumpusing my rebuttal to his address to my rebuttal. So you have said, no, we can see all of it. It's on the other side of this picture and it cannot be seen. That would be incorrect. We cannot see specifically where I am on your representation. It is not a representation of the whole. You can't physically, or anybody is ever going to be physically capable of showing you the entirety, the whole of a globe model. That is impossible. And you saying you've got to imagine it, it's on the other side of my reified sphere, isn't showing me the whole. Now, I've addressed this to you twice, and you've suggested we move on. I'd prefer you address that what you have challenged me to do is beyond the capabilities of your reified sphere model. Maybe you'd like to address that rather than move on, Jose. Let's see how you get on.
All right, I have presented the evidence. Now I'd like to move on to the second point because there's not a lot of time left. You're trying to kill the time, so we carry on, but I'm not going to do this. We're going to go to the second point. Earth calculator. Are you able to present a calculator with predictive capability? I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you 3 calculators that you can pull off the internet. You can key in your observer height and the distance, as easy as that, and it gives you a prediction of what's going to be hiding from the bottom up. I will share my whole desktop, and here is, I got 2 pulled over here. Number 1 is, let's go to the folder, right, somewhere around here. All right, I got the advanced Earth calculator, Earth curve calculator, and Metabunk. I'm going to pull, I don't know, this one right here. I'm just going to give you 1 because I don't think you're going to be able to give me 3. So this is one of the curve calculators, Walter Bisling. This is advanced. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, Nathan. So I'm going to give you just a regular Metabunk. It's a little less advanced for you. I can put the miles and distance. I can put the height, and it will give me a prediction on what's going to be hiding from the bottom up. Are you able to provide me something like that? And if so, I'll get a new window. You can either paste the link or verbally tell me so I can type it in. Go ahead. I will mute myself, Nathan. You're up.
Do you want to go back to your Metabunk calculator, please?
Yeah. Metabunk right here.
Just a quick question. Does this prove Earth's a sphere?
No, it's a calculator with predictive capability on what's going to be hiding from the bottom up.
And we're on a flat Earth debate. What does this prove?
Oh, that we got a lot of observations, footage, and videos of things disappearing from the bottom up, and that implies that I am happy to say that evidence we live in on a sphere, because things in a flat surface will never disappear from the bottom up unless you got a calculator that I can pull from the internet with predictive capabilities. Are you able to provide that?
Sorry, that was a lot of word salad. Provide what?
No.
Is this?
Yeah.
I left gap.
You asked me
It seems I'm 3 words in, and
You asked me
you're
something.
already interrupting me.
You
Is
say
this going to
broken
be
what?
how it
That's a
happens
question.
every
was gonna
time I
answer
talk?
it.
Is it going to be this way every single time I talk, Jose? That I get 3 words in and you start talking?
Go ahead. I'm quiet.
I don't need permission.
You asked me a question, I'm
I
gonna
don't
answer.
need permission.
If you ask
I
me a
need you
question,
to
I'm
shut
gonna
up.
answer.
Something
You
that you're
say,
not doing
provide
right
what? And I
now.
was gonna
So
answer it,
even though
and then
you've
you
given me
decided to
permission, you
interrupt
still
me after
seem
you
to be
asked me a
talking.
question.
So you've said go ahead,
You asked a
and
question,
I can
and
still
then you
hear your
wanna
voice,
keep
Jose.
talking. That's
So
what you
you're
wanna do,
still
to
talking.
play victim
You've given me
that
permission,
you're
and in
overtalk.
reality, I
You ask
don't
a
need
question,
permission.
when I start
I just
answering,
need you to
say,
shut
"Oh,
your
you're
mouth, but
overtalking,
you're
you're playing
incapable.
victim, right?"
You are
Go ahead,
idiotic.
Nathan.
You're stupid,
Go ahead,
incapable
Nathan.
of a normal conversation. So I've asked you to shut up. You've given me permission, and then you've continued talking at length through me. So my question is, given that you are asking me for an equivalent to this calculator, my question is, what does this prove? This calculator? Not imply, and I don't want to hear what you're happy about. I want to know what it proves.
We have been through this before. I asked you once, I bet you're going to interrupt me. You probably will. I asked you once, you say, I don't need to provide you shit. Are you still stand by that you don't have to provide me a calculator with predictive capability on how things disappear from the bottom up? Are you happy with that answer? You still stand by you don't have to provide me shit like the air model?
Hold on, John.
Because I gotta
Those
move
were... you're not
Yeah,
finished.
move your
One more
ass
point.
on, you
Hold on,
fucking
John.
retard.
Hold on.
There you go. Disrespect. There you go.
No need.
Disrespect, you're a
You
fucking
fucking piece
crayon
of
muncher.
shit.
You don't
You
deserve to
asshole.
be on this panel.
You are a piece of shit, John. Come on.
Yeah, your sister
Now,
doesn't
now
say
you,
so.
there you go. Nathan called for backup.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
John,
a fucking
come into
Public
retard.
show.
Go back to your
Ripping
crayon
my
munching
ass.
Both of you.
retard.
Can I get a word in, both of
Yeah.
you? Can I get a word in? So,
Go ahead.
Jose,
I'm
you've
mute
asked me
myself.
for equivalent.
If John start fucking,
Of
the
course,
fuck
I got
up.
2 words in.
You see,
Not allowed to
there you
talk
go.
anymore.
John, shut the fuck
I'll
up. That's
rip
not with you,
your
John.
fucking lungs
This is
out.
we talk. The adults start
Fucking
talking,
piece of
John.
shit.
Shut the fuck up.
You're a retard. Look
So-
at you, retard.
So,
Fucking
Jose,
Shut the fuck up, John.
When
Nathan's trying
you
to
two-
talk.
You wouldn't
You're
know the
representing.
difference between a Bunsen burner and a
Shut the fuck
fucking
up,
beach
John.
ball.
Nathan is trying to
How many
talk, bro.
slobber nurses does it take for you to put your shirt on in the morning? Look at your
Shut the fuck
fucking
up,
dumb
John.
ass. The fuck out of here.
So, you've asked me for an equivalent of something that you've said proves nothing.
I ask you, do you have a calculator? Can you provide a calculator with predictive capabilities on how things disappear from the bottom up
What's a
that I
scientific
can
prediction?
key in?
What's a
observe the height,
scientific
a
prediction,
distance,
moron?
and you can give me
Predict
a
with a
prediction.
calculator.
Yes, can you provide
You're
that?
a
Yes or no?
fucking
No, we
idiot.
can move on to the next part. To the next point.
Well, you want to...
All right,
you,
observations.
Jose, I
How
haven't
do you
even got a
find
chance to
you?
respond.
That's the
I've got
next
about
point.
3 words in, and both you and John are rumpusing the crap out of me. I'm just not getting a chance to speak because you keep talking.
Because John is rumpusing you. John came in.
No, you
to
are.
disrespect
You're
and
doing
not
it right
letting you
now.
talk.
I'm trying to respond, but I've had 4 attempts. Haven't actually been able to. So, you've asked me to provide an equivalent calculator, and I've asked you what it proves.
I'm asking you, can you provide it? That was my first question.
Provide
You should answer
what?
That question before I answer your question.
I'll try again. Provide what? What does your
Provide a
calculator do?
calculator.
I'll try again without interruption. Let's see how long he lasts. Provide what? You haven't told me what your calculator proves.
Can you provide a calculator that I can key in an observer height, a distance,
What
and
does
it
your
will predict
calculator
what is
prove?
disappearing
What's
from
the
the bottom up?
question,
Can you
moron?
provide that, Nathan?
I
You're a
don't...
moron.
Sorry, and if
No,
I did,
don't answer with
if
a
I
question.
did,
Learn. Adults speak.
that would be the
One person
time for me
asks,
to
the other
respond.
person
No,
answers.
it's the
Right.
time for Jose to keep talking. Was that an opportunity for me to respond, or did you have more? Go ahead, Jose.
Please respond if John lets you. If John allow you to talk.
No, you. I'm talking to you. I don't know what...
I'll mute myself.
Yeah, I got 2 words in, and you tell me that you're muting rather than shutting your mouth. You haven't told me what I'm giving you an equivalent of. I don't know what your calculator proves. So how am I supposed to get an equivalent? You say a predictive calculator that says things will disappear from the bottom up. If I provide you some numbers that say things disappear from the bottom up and the maths works out, that won't be an equivalent to something that proves nothing, because mine will also prove nothing. So who cares?
Thank you very much. All right. Third point, I'm going to share my full screen. Observations. If you have done your own observations, I would like to see any observations that can evidence the shape of Earth. I got many observations I have done myself, because I don't think you have done your own observations with long distance observations. You can choose a person of your choice in that you agreed 100% with everything they do. If you trust that person, then you can present their footage. If
This
you don't
guy's
trust
a
them in
retard.
one little thing that you don't agree, then don't present it. My first
You're a
evidence right
retard.
here is a lighthouse, and you can key it
The
in. It's
lighthouse?
beautiful.
Uh,
Yep.
it's a
All right.
lighthouse?
That's
You're
number
a
one.
retard.
I can give you anything you want. I got another one right here. It's a bridge about 27 miles away, different heights, different distances. We can look it up. This is some buildings. It's in my channel.
Wow,
I done it.
you're a
Little Texas
scientist.
Bayou.
What a
Physical curve right
scientist you
here.
are. You're
Physical
a
curve right
fucking
here. Look at
retard,
that.
dude.
Physical
Stone
curve.
cold retard.
In a straight build structure, 7 miles long, we can see a physical curve. All right, we got more. We got another point from the different
Woo.
angle. Physical
Wow.
curve.
Look
So
at
I got all kinds of
pictures.
evidence that
Oh,
Earth
this
is a
evidence,
sphere.
right?
We see the
Evidence
curve.
for
Yeah.
what?
I got one more, a bridge
Fucking
right here,
retard,
missing
man.
a few hundred feet.
And
We get a bunch of houses appear to be built underwater, but they are really not. They are built very high up the water. All right, I'll mute myself, Nathan. You can present. Go ahead with your evidence,
Go ahead and present.
video footage evidence of the shape of Earth. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It rolls on
You're a
daily.
retard.
Sorry, Jose, it rolls on daily. We have plenty of images that roll in the backdrops of these videos all day, every day.
Can you present one of your trusted source, please? Or at least one.
Shut the fuck up.
A trusted source. You haven't explained your imagery in terms of how something reducing in size into the distance is actually presenting as a curve, because it isn't. It's an effective perspective.
All right, little Texas Bayou. There's the curve, physical curve seen over here.
Not a
Yep.
physical
Oh
curve.
my
It's water. Do you not
It's
understand how
physical
water
curve right here.
works? Water isn't curving.
Oh, water might not be so is this build curved?
No,
Hmm.
no. Jose,
No, this is built
it's not.
straight. Yeah.
No, it's not.
So
It's
can
a
you
flat-
provide any at
Sorry,
least one
Jose,
image of
you're not
footage?
listening
Can
to
you
the
provide it,
reply.
Nathan, for real?
You just keep asking me, even though I was literally in the middle of a sentence.
Okay, but I just want to know, can you share
Yeah,
your
you're
screen
asking
and
the
provide it?
same thing again while I was in the middle of responding. No, you're not seeing a curve in that image. The roadway is flat, as is water. Fluid dynamics. It's going to find its level. You're claiming it's curving. It isn't. That's preposterous.
The same evaluation we did on your fucking fuckwit photo
What?
6 months ago. It's the same photo. You're bringing up the same stupid shit. You're a dumbass. Hey, are you still holding those references close to your heart? Retard. Idiot.
Just one more
Okay,
thing.
so
Jose,
go ahead.
what about all of the points that I've raised for point one? The picture of Earth that you challenged me to present a picture of all of it when you were physically incapable of doing the same, in spite of that, how you're leading the question. The calculator, we didn't even get into it. You moved straight past it. I asked you what it proved, and that one question meant that we moved past that question. We didn't establish what it proved or get an opportunity to take apart any assertion of proof from the calculator. And then you've just presented images. Images that in that very calculator that you use will ignore the effects of perspective. They're not accounted for in any of those calculations. So you want to address some of those points? Don't want to go too quick. Don't want to overwhelm you.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing you did. To recap, in the first point, I was able to provide. Hopefully, John, let me talk without interrupting. I didn't interrupt you in that
Shut the
little recap
fuck
of the
up.
3 points. You get
You're
that?
a
Nathan,
retard.
control your horse over there. All right. So in the first point, I was able to present pictures of Earth, right, as a whole. Yes, I did.
No. Right, let's shut him up. No, he didn't. He challenged me to present a picture of the whole. Then he presented a picture of not the whole and justified that part of the image, the very part I'm at, was on the other side of the ball. So now while he rumpuses the facts, I'll make it clear. No, he didn't meet challenge number 1 himself, in spite of him being deluded and thinking that he can provide a picture of the whole of a sphere, which is idiotic at a base level. Now, he can talk and try and obfuscate the fact that I demolished point number 1 and then say he wants to move on. He's not going to get an opportunity to. I'm just going to demolish it again. You can't present a picture of the whole of a sphere. That's ludicrous and idiotic. So that's for my audience, even though he's tried to rumpus the shit out of it. Want to move on to calculator?
3 points.
Calculator?
Retard.
Do we move on to point 2 that you've also ignored my demolition?
Calculator, yeah. Do you have a website that I can key in? Do you want to share that website so I can pull it up and we can break it
This
down?
fucking idiot.
Yeah, I've tried to
Nathan?
ask and you've not given me an answer. Let's try again. Let's see if you whistle past my demolition again. What does the calculator prove?
Oh, no. I asked you a question. You haven't answered that question before I answer yours. Do you have a calculator that you want to share that I can pull it up, the website? Then I'll answer your
Okay,
question.
hold on, John. Do I have a calculator? I need
Do
to
you
know
have
what...
something to share?
Jose, I've got 2 words out. Again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, triggered Fundy. Losing badly. We know. Just let me speak, though. Don't rumpus me.
Go ahead.
I don't need your permission. I need you to shut your stupid mouth.
Please go ahead.
Like
Nathan.
you're not
Please go
doing
ahead. You
right
have my
now, telling me to
permission,
go
Nathan.
ahead,
Permission
talking
granted.
through me. That's what the fundy idiots who are losing do. Give me permission
Permission
rather
granted,
than
Nathan.
shutting their stupid mouth. So we will get to point number 2 that I've demolished about 4 times already, whether you like it or not, Jose.
You haven't demolished
You
it because
just
got
need to
nothing
shut
present,
up.
bro.
You just need to shut up. You're incapable because you're losing. We know. But let's see if you can manage it and button your lip. Okay. If I'm being challenged to provide a calculator, I first need to know what my calculator, apparently equivalent to your calculator, is going to be proving, so that I can provide it to you. Now, in order to provide an equivalent, you must first tell me what your calculator does, so that I can provide what you're asking for, an equivalent. So I must first know what your calculator proves. Do you want to tell me?
Yeah, my calculator, you can put an observer height, a number. You can put a number for...
That's not what it proves. That's what it does. You are fundamentally stupid and will ignore this. I don't need to know what it does. I need to know what it proves. But you simply won't listen to that. You'll just detail what it does and ask me to provide an equivalent of something that does the same, which I've already said I could do, but it would be pointless because we haven't established what I'll be proving. So do you want to tell me what it proves rather than what it does, or not?
Are you able to present it, Nathan? Yes or no?
I don't know what it proves yet. You haven't told me. You just keep telling me what it does.
It's easy. Give me a website that I can pull a calculator, and that calculator, this is what it does.
I don't need to know what it does. I'll say it for a 4th time. I need to know what it proves, not what it does. But we will go round and round in circles with you telling me what it does and asking for an equivalent without us ever establishing what my calculator, equivalent to your calculator, should prove. And the way we'd establish that is by you telling us what your calculator will prove, but you simply won't do that. You will simply continually assert what it does and never, ever, ever tell us
Nathan,
what it proves.
But you are not able to provide anything, Nathan.
He's a
you
retard. Look
Just
at him.
rumpusing me.
Delusional retard.
99, Nathan.
Non-stop
Look at
rumpusing
him.
me. So we're never going to get to what it proves, only what it does over and over again, Jose?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it
no,
does.
but-
You provide a calculator doing predictions, yeah? On what
Prediction.
this
What's a
calculator-
scientific prediction, knucklehead? Hey,
Nobody
dude.
mentioned scientific. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, what's a scientific prediction? You don't even know what science is. You wouldn't know what
There's
science
another
was. You would
It's
get
not
on
in the
your
morning.
face,
Thank you very much,
run
Nathan.
around and whistle
I
Dixie.
destroy you
You're lucky it's a
miserably,
clown.
Nathan.
Bring it.
Miserably. Thank you very
Bring
much.
it.
You're welcome
I'll
to
rip your
my channel.
fucking
Put the-
Love it. Great start to the show.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Quantum Eraser, Chocolate Saiyan, The One, Flatzoid, and 10th Man in G+. Very good to have you all.
I'm just sitting back and loving every single minute.
Hello,
of
one
it.
and all. I've just introduced you after the live show. I was just on mute, so you didn't hear my intro. My bad. Hello, all in G+.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, it's like a blanket, isn't it, Dewey?
Good
Yep.
morning.
Like I just said, the scientific method, it's now finally reaching critical mass, right? You baltards are through. I'm sitting back and
Adam.
loving every single minute of it.
John-
You friggin' Dunning-Kruger clowns. You're done. Finished. Ah!
So hello also
Done.
to Adam Meakin and... Hold on 1 second, Flatzoid. I just need to get my intro over, please. I'm nearly there. Hello, Adam, and hello, everyone in Discord also. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bar QE. Who can get stuffed?
Good afternoon.
Adam.
What's up, Adam?
Haven't actually
Going
taken
on,
anybody off mute in Discord, sorry. You're all there now. Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
So what was that all about?
Can I
With
go on?
Jose. So just before the show started, we had Jose JG Gonzalez subscribe today, and he wanted to challenge us on 3 points. The first, I wrote them down. Hold on. First being to present a picture of the whole of Earth, and it very quickly wasn't conceded by Jose that his presentation couldn't and never will be able to reach that criteria. He can't show the whole of a sphere. That's ludicrous. So he failed in something that he was challenging me to do based on the fact that he could do it with his model, and he absolutely can't present a picture of the whole of Earth in a sphere model. That's ludicrous. Next, he wanted me to provide a calculation, an equivalent calculation to his calculation. And I said, well, I could provide a calculator that gives you those inputs and outputs and has some maths going on, but what does it prove? And he constantly asserted what the calculator did as opposed to what it proved, knowing full well that it would be taken apart as a logical fallacy of begging the question if he was to ever assert that it proves something, which it doesn't. It's a proof of nothing begging the question, perspective hijacking curve calculator. So I don't know why he bought that tired old argument. And last but not least, he presented us some imagery that when processed through said calculator will ignore the effects of perspective, place you in an orthographic view, formerly known and lovingly known as Muppet vision, where you see the side of your own head, to remove all aspects of perspective. So he's got all these crappy old arguments from 2016 that he's come on to present to me, rumpus the living crap out of every single rebuttal, let me have about 2 words. Although, John, you were just as bad. It was...
Wait, was it a new calculator, or is it the same old busted perspective hijacking curve calculator?
But they'll always be
Did-
the
did
same
he have a-
calculator. Always. Bislin's is no different. They're always the same. They have
Why
to match
would
up.
Why would he bring that up here now? That shit's been dead and buried.
I don't know. I was kind of... That's what I was asking.
Is he kidding? What's
I know
going
why.
on?
I know why. Because he's a retard. That's why.
Yeah, but he was so hyped up he could type it in.
I should really make that clear for the audience. So obviously, those of you watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 Live, there is a pre and after show that goes out on Nathan Oakley channel, my second channel. Subscribe today, link below. But that gets the full uncut debate. So from the moment I start recording, when people are joining, it's often very dull. But today, Jose JG Gonzalez, subscribed today, joined and wanted to challenge me. He was wanting to challenge me in a debate chat yesterday. I think it was Anthony Riley's. And I was like... I was more than happy to do it there and then in the chat feed. I was like, look, I'm here now. Chat, there's never going to be any accusations of rumpusing, just ignorance of the points being made, which is nice. And I like debating in the chat. often I just troll, but sometimes I will actually debate people if I see that it's worthy of debate. So, you know, that's where you get a few quotes out of people like Wiggles. The gas would fill the space by debating them in chat. Now, he didn't want that. He wanted to join, presumably so he could employ a few tactics of rumpusing and not letting the actual concise demolition come through, which is precisely what he did, like I say. But his last point was to, like I say, present pictures of the world that prove it's flat. It's like, well, ours are going to include perspective, yours aren't. Yours are going to claim that perspective's an earth curve, which is precisely what he did. But it's like you say, chocolate. These arguments are so long in the tooth. I don't really get what is. Maybe he just wanted a bit of promotion. I don't know.
It seems like we're watching the script of Back to the Future with all the regurgitating of old arguments.
Maybe he's just getting told that on his channel by the fundies that he hosts, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, curve calculator's still okay. It's all cool," and he's just like been brainwashed into forgetting that we've demolished it piece by piece over a series of about, I don't know, 50 or 60 shows back in 2017.
He was here. He was on this panel while we destroyed that freaking calculator every day. Like, he must be out of his mind. This is insane.
Jose was on our side when that was getting discussed, correct?
Now, here's the problem. And I told you about this before. You see, now they're feeling it. They're feeling it because the scientific method and the things that I've been talking about for 3.5 years are slowly building up. And they're reaching critical mass, and they're feeling it now, and they're starting to step and fetch. You're finished, baltards. Done. You're smoked. Your friggin' science acumen that you got out of a Cracker Jack box, those days are over. Everyone's coming after you, and I'm sitting back and loving every single minute of it. You're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, big props to you. John Thor cut out a section of me talking about science being on the side of flat Earth, and in no point during that little diatribe did I actually give the credit where credit was due to you. I was like, when I found out this information, I just found out that I'd have to chop Bob Nodell's head off with the double-edged sword that is the scientific method. But I didn't actually say the information and the fact that it's a double-edged sword came from Quantum Eraser in the first instance. You know, stick to the scientific method and you'll win. That I wouldn't have if it wasn't for Quantum Eraser pointing out that science is on our side. And they haven't got any rebuttal when it comes to applications of empiricism. They don't have anything. They never will.
I think, Nathan, they're just envy about that video turning out so great and it like influencing people. They're just envy about it.
I just saw that video last night. It was so well done.
It's amazing.
The editing and all that. I mean, it just what Nathan said in it. It just struck, because science is on our side with this. Pseudoscience is done, and that's why. I agree with John. This is why they're getting nervous. This is why they're saying science doesn't prove things. This is why they're saying we don't care about the cause, because they have no science. It's sad and pathetic, and you guys are changing things in real time. It's garbage. So yeah, John,
what do you
we're
mean
killing you with.
What do you mean they don't have any science? They don't even know what it is.
I know. It's pretty sad.
They are Dunning-Kruger pretender clowns parroting Wiki and Discovery Channel. We've known it for years. You're finished. It's critical mass time. Everyone's talking about it now, and everyone's holding your feet to the fire. I'm loving it. Loving it, baby. Thanks.
I think that they just see that it's really powerful now in this video. It's like they don't stand a chance.
You got the doofus. Who is this guy? John Watson with his thesis, with his independent variable as location.
Hey, QE, that's independent John, because he's independent of any science.
Oh, I call him Johnny
Nothing
Pseudo.
like hammering yourself right in the head with a nail spike 44-inch Louisville Slugger, John. What a dumbass you are. And your thesis advisor, he's a Dunning-Kruger pretender clown also. And the head of the department, He's a pseudoscientist also. The whole university are pseudoscientists. They don't have a friggin' clue. Dumbasses.
Yeah, I was saying in the chat, it must sting, because we're flat earthers pointing out where this guy has basically taken a method that's empirical and lent credence to his pseudoscience by saying it's science. And when it comes to somebody actually pointing out what science is, he says, science isn't about the cause. Because his science, which isn't science, is pseudoscience. And he needs to defend it by saying, no, the actual science is wrong. It's not about establishing cause. The independent variable doesn't need to be varied by me, the researcher. I can just watch it being varied naturally. That's the kind of things that a pseudoscientist will say. And like you say, they're feeling the pressure. Flat earthers are pointing out where they're lying, where they're frauds, where they've used this vernacular to lend credence to their pseudoscience claims. Astrophysicists, again, someone from the chat yesterday, I think Adam addressed it, was saying, well, I think it was Toady, was saying, well, are you suggesting that the entire department's pseudoscience then? And
Toady!
Yeah. And Adam was like, that's an unfair argument. When you do psychology, they make it absolutely abundantly plain that it's not a science. So yeah, there are pseudoscience departments. While he was saying it, while Adam was reading it out, I was like, yeah, plenty of quantum eraser presentations point out the pseudoscience departments. Yeah, there are. And we've all been duped by them. Astrophysicists have duped you and lied to you and claimed science. And they're pseudoscience. They just never admit it. They tell you that science won't prove things because they can't prove things. They project all of their ineptitude and failings onto science because that's not what they are.
Yeah, well, they put the banner of science over the archway that you walk into. That doesn't make it science. Just because you can put a word on something doesn't make it so, right? You don't know what science is, but they tell you it's science, and you just follow along. It couldn't be further away from science. You couldn't get further away from it. You're done.
I forgot you were here for a second, Adam.
Finished.
Just, I know you're keen. They're done. They're dead. They're finished. As is Globe Earth, died in 2016. Adam, can you comment on that? Because I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I was. I enjoyed last night. I thought it was going to be more of an intellectual challenge. What me and John D were going to be presented from Riley, but it was quite telling. It was telling in a number of ways that, most fundamentally, they don't understand what science is, and they're not able to differentiate when these studies are placed to them what part of it could be science. But the sad thing for me was what became apparent as we went through the descriptions, where they weren't even able to formulate the correct definitions within the study that they tried to portray as science. They weren't even able to clearly identify what they were doing with regards to definitions of independent variables, dependence, and any form of control. Their lack of understanding how they were happy to dismiss independent variables being controlled by something else. It was just a whole demonstration of their non-comprehension of the underpinning empirical principles that give science the strength of argument when it comes to a conclusion that it has. And they were happy to dismiss all of these to try and bastardize whatever they were into believing it was science. It was an interesting exercise, but to me showed not just a lack of comprehension of the method, but an ability to apply it to a situation, which was more worrying. And I think both me and John commented with regards to this comprehension. We both teach at different levels, but this is fundamentals. And John's teaching at 16, 17-year-old. And like he said, he'd be disappointed if he wasn't able to make his students understand this point. And my only thing is that they must be trolling now. They must be trolling because it's been laid out so concisely and so consistently that they can't understand. They've got real issues.
Go ahead, Earth-shaped
yes,
investigator.
to that point, even yes. So yeah, to that point, I mean, not even to the scientific method or the curve calculator, but then we still got Highlander now in the chat saying James May records the Earth curve from the plane or whatnot. So they're still going. They're kind of like regressing now. So Adam, to your point, that it's not just at the scientific level; it's still regressing back to boats over the horizon, because everywhere they look, you know, they're being challenged, from the science to the scientific method to the calling them out as pseudoscience, and now they're going back to James May seeing the curve and all this stuff. I think they're really trapped. That's the issue now.
Yeah, Back to the Future.
Well, I've said this before.
Don't let them breathe. Out there, flat earthers, don't let them breathe. Step on them.
I'd imagine they'll just go through the mill. Rinse and repeat tends to be their go-to. So, you know, Jose might just be the start of them going through all of the old arguments and then just getting smashed over and over again, just with a much more concise understanding of each argument when they come through the mill again.
Yeah, I was on Discord yesterday, and Danny was on there talking about how the heliocentric model predicts. And he talked about, you know, how the typical rhetoric. And I said, well, if I studied, I was starting to go to build my case. I was like, well, if I study the sun over the course of a few years, I could probably predict the time and location of where the sun's going to rise. And it triggered him harder than anything else. So I was like, just because I study and see something, I can predict something, doesn't mean that's what's causing it. And he knew where I was going and backed down and got triggered really quick.
That's not a prediction. That's just observing something for a long time. That's like observing a clock. 300 years, right? And then on the 301st year, on the first day, predicting that the hour hand, when it goes past 12, will land on 1. Wow, a seer. You must be a scientist. What a prediction. You friggin' ignorant, daft Muppet mungs. You're finished. Finished. Say goodbye. It's over. Clowns. Pretender clown, clinical level, Dunning-Kruger, wiki Discovery Channel parroting pretender clown Muppets. That's all you are. And we're taking you to the woodshed, one by one.
You being globe heads, people who are fundamentalists in their assertion that Earth is a sphere. Not necessarily normies. Normies might just come to this information and appreciate there's absolutely no scientific validity for the heliocentric model and that the Earth is not a sphere. However, there are people who, in the face of that information, defend it in the way Jose did on the pre-show, which is to say, assert complete nonsense that they have had the understanding of drilled into them. They understand where it's fallacious reasoning, but they'll still come and assert it on a rinse and repeat cycle. Amazing. Zealotry.
That friggin' demonstrated liar Toady trying to challenge Adam? Ha! That's like Elmer Fudd trying to challenge Richard Feynman. You friggin' demonstrated lying retard. You're a certified retard, sir. Thanks. And, well, hold on. This is demonstrated. I toe tagged this idiot like 3 times. Why are you even out here? You going after your girlfriend, Trish Blythe, the friggin' paralegal that couldn't tie her shoes, right? Without a fleet of cyber nurses. My word, people.
Guys, let's kill them with some housekeeping questions.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Got Adam and Q here, not often here at this time. So, any signs of Earth curvature?
Oh. Me then. No.
Nope, not in Bulgaria.
Not on Earth.
Obviously unobservably flat here.
Not from West Virginia.
Highlander, you said James May's presented Earth curvature, is that correct?
What about that photograph from that one mission that is set to travel to the moon and back that took a photograph of all of Earth?
Where's the moon again?
Hold on. Yeah, go ahead, Chocolate. You take it.
Where's the moon again?
up in the sky.
In the sky, but where in the sky? I mean, is it someplace we can get to?
I'm
How
not
can they
sure.
take pictures
I
from
mean, I know I cannot get to it, so
Oh, okay. Because some people think they do, right?
Isn't that second place of thermodynamics violation?
Right.
Called
What's
outer
the,
space?
yeah, correct.
that's
What you're
that's
fishing
where I'm
for is
a little
what was
confused,
the medium.
'cause we're taking pictures from a place that can't exist.
It's getting concise. Hold on, Chocolate. So the question you didn't ask was, what was the medium they travelled through to get to the moon?
oh, never mind then.
Oh, so it was Narnia. Oh, I see. Space, vacuums, right?
Yep.
Second law of thermodynamics violation, right on. But that wasn't what we heard from probably the only globehead on the panel, or one of very limited at the moment. Obviously, with it being quite painful for them to come here. What about James May? This is new to me.
Is this the old one where he goes up in a fighter jet and you get a camera and a shot through the cockpit window?
Shot of what?
Of the horizon.
The horizon? Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
So where's the Earth curve coming in then? I don't. So we've got a picture. He's in a plane. He's looking at the horizon. Where's Earth curve?
The horizon, I think, when viewed through the cockpit.
No, I'm not interested in the horizon. Sorry, maybe I know sometimes the connection's poor. I'm sure, Adam. The horizon's all well and good. Yes, I've got what he's looking at. He's looking at the horizon. When does he look at Earth curve? What's the Earth curve he's looking at? I don't know what the horizon's doing.
Well, he's only commented about some observation from one axis.
Yeah, and behind his head you can see a flat horizon. So
Why do we keep talking about the horizon? I'm getting a bit frustrated. Why are we talking about the horizon so much? So the horizon is a not actual location, and apparently we're looking at Earth curve through the eyes of James May in this TV program. But we just seem to be talking about the horizon. I'm a bit confused. Why are we talking about the horizon so much?
But this appears to be the evidence that this not actual position is not actually bending in one direction. I mean, it only bends in one direction, so it doesn't. The geometry suggesting by viewing this not actual position, it doesn't actually conform to the shape you're suggesting. It conforms to a toilet roll, but he is suggesting that this apparent distortion in this non-geographic location is an indicator that we live on a ball.
Oh, I see. So, in essence, James May has reified an arbitrary position where the sky appears to meet the ground into the leading edge of a sphere model that he believes he lives on. And then upon ascending in altitude, he's observed this reified edge of a sphere model that he believes he lives on into the curving edge of his reified sphere model. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. If James May's watching, the horizon's not an actual location. I appreciate that, like Jose did on the pre-show, many people try and reify it into an edge and then make calculations based on this arbitrary location where the sky appears to meet the ground. It's not the edge of your Earth curve reification model. It's the horizon, a not actual location. So just in case you're listening, Highlander, I appreciate it might have been punted that way by the lying mainstream media for people who don't appreciate what they're actually seeing and being told. But what he reified into the curve of an Earth was actually the horizon, a not actual location where it appears the sky meets the ground, even though the sky doesn't actually meet the ground ever and it's not an actual position. He said that not actual position bending means Earth is a sphere. He's just wrong. He's guilty of several fallacious assertions. Two in particular. One, that Earth is a sphere in the first instance, the very thing he's trying to prove. And the second being that the horizon, a not actual location, would be the leading edge of that sphere that he previously reified. So it's a cluster gaggle of reification fallacies, this presented evidence from James May. Sorry to break it to you.
I got an idea. Why don't you bring Clown Show Toady on and have him do a radio bounce off it?
Here, me and John talked about this yesterday, but I'll bring it up on the live air so we can bring it. The standard argument, too, that they're using for curvature is the fact that the horizon drops in the HUD display, or HUD on an aircraft, the heads-up display, because there's an artificial horizon. But because the so-called real horizon drops, that's evidence of curvature. So that's what I've heard out there. So let's address that one on air.
What's the HUD referencing?
The supposedly apparent horizon.
Apparent horizon? We're back here again, are we? It's so quick. Wow. Not exactly a distant friend.
Well, we already discussed this last night. I said, well, you're just taking a observation. It's a sight gag. Let's put this into an actionable demonstration of curvature when you're flying in an airplane. If you're flying at 500 miles an hour, according to the Earth Curve Calculator, then you would have to drop 2,777 feet on average every minute, right? Let's demonstrate this, clowns. Thanks.
I already know what they're going to say. Let me just play Johnny. Go ahead. But QE, there's this thing called Schuler tuning inside the gyroscope, and the plane automatically adjusts for that. It automatically does it, so you won't notice.
I got this thing called retard tuning.
Hold on.
Right?
No. Hold on. So to account for it, it would need a physical motion of nosing down then, correct?
Yep.
Paul? Johnny Globhead?
Well, yeah, the nose should, but the plane does that. It's so minute, it's so little that you won't notice it.
I just need a yes. I just need a yes. God, you're so into character. So the plane would necessitate nosing down then?
Well, it would have to, but it's so minute, it's so small that you wouldn't notice it.
But okay, no. I don't need quantities. Qualitatively, it would nose down.
Well, yeah, I guess it would have to, but it's just so small you wouldn't notice it.
I don't need the measure. Just need a yes. It would nose down. But they don't nose down. In fact, quite the contrary, Johnny Globhead Paul. They nose up.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know, though. I mean, I'm not a pilot, but what the other people that are pilots tell me.
They nose up.
Johnny will find space.
Between 3 and 5 degrees, all commercial planes' angle of attack is between 3 and 5 degrees.
Up.
Upwards.
Up. So I actually did some quantitative data on this with the an hour's flight time in the middle of a flight to just test to see if there was any at any point any reorientation. And the data I collected just demonstrated that it did just fluctuate. But it was actually between 2.5 and 5 degrees, but never ever did it even get level, and it certainly never nosed down. Therefore, there would be no reorientation. Therefore, the traversing over any supposed spherical land underneath it would, by maintaining that straight vector, would reorientate the supposed position of gravity if gravity is caused by the center of the ball traversing over it, and no reorientation. Nobody felt like they were being pulled back into their seats and the plane was tipping up more and more and more, and it didn't demonstrate a more and more tip. So the flight was straight for the full hour. That would have
gravity, Adam.
Well,
that's fair enough. He dropped it in. No. He just dropped in. He dropped it. I just want to get that in. Sorry, Adam. He just dropped it in as a preemptive rebuttal. It didn't need addressing. Sorry, Chocolate. I know you're keen.
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there is actually, I've done this and tested it just to see if there was any point of reorientation within a flight, and it's quite the opposite. It does maintain consistently the nose pointing up.
And it must point down, did you say, Paul, to reorientate with the drop that nobody ever experiences?
Well, it would have to, I guess, logically, but
Not
that
logically,
horizon line,
physically.
though, and you can see the sun. You can see the sun underneath that. The horizon line, that artificial horizon, the sun is underneath that. It projects up.
Sun?
I'm trying to stay in character.
Yeah, by moving on to a completely different point. Yes, very on form with a globe head tactic of moving on to a totally different subject. Well done.
Is he munching crayons?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to summarise, if there was any drop experienced, which there is not, there'd be a necessity, gravity or otherwise, to nose down around the sphere, even if it's claimed to be doing it automatically without any input from the aviator. There's no way in hell that you could continue the journey with nosing up when it absolutely would require you to nose down. But that's if there was any drop to account for, and there isn't.
Yeah, can I just quick input about the airplanes? If they fly and they nose up, and they have to necessitate, what they have to necessitate is that the drop. If the airplane actually noses up, at one moment it will stall. That means that it will, the air flow around the wings will break off, and there won't be any lift because it will enter a zone of lower density in the atmoplane, so it will stall and it will start dropping belly down. So it's impossible to be on a ball.
Indeed.
Plus, you need curvature to have a ball, and apparently we don't have that. So
that wasn't bad. About 15 minutes out of one housekeeping question.
Oh, can I just clarify something there that was said, that the change in altitude doesn't require any nosing down. The 3 to 5 degree.
That's correct. That's
change,
correct.
Yeah.
That's a red herring fallacy, though. It would either have to nose down or reduce its speed, but you would know it. Anyone that's been on a flight would know it.
Yeah. So the obviously the upthrust is maintained by the angle of attack and also the speed. So in most cases, it's easier, I think, just to slowly adjust the speed and adjust the to adjust the altitude is perfectly feasible. Well, again, you would notice that in engine pitch, but you could, if traversing from a falling, if you're going across a flat plane, if the topography was descending, you could maintain your altitude by just adjusting speed a little bit without. You certainly wouldn't have to nose down. You could just narrow the angle of attack a little bit, still keeping it level, and that would drop your altitude as well. So you don't have to. The proof isn't supported by altitude. The proof is supported that within the model. I hate to say this, chocolate again, that it would be a realignment of the supposed gravity because you're not reorientating as you traverse across the ball, and it's that reorientation.
People on the plane would feel the elevation drop, right? That's the point. They don't. You don't live on a friggin' ball. End of story.
I was grinning from ear to ear, Adam. You're ace.
Well, and I was going to have Adam go over, like we talked about tangential velocity at ground level and then tangential velocity at higher altitudes. Can you cover that again? What the difference that you calculated and what the speed would be at the upper atmosphere you'd have to traverse to keep up?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The quantitative aspect doesn't matter. It's qualitative aspect. It goes against the laws of physics. It's not only conservation of momentum, you're increasing the momentum from out of nowhere. It's a first law of thermodynamics violation, for goodness sake.
I'm going to have to break this down before Adam gives his explanation, just so it's nice and dumbed down. Right, you're on a helicopter, and the claim from the ball Earth side in this scenario is as follows. We are not going to be proving Earth spins because we're not going to be observing any Coriolis deviation today. That's their first part of their argument, believe it or not. Then they go on to say the reason we're not going to see any Coriolis deviation today is because the Earth and atmosphere travel as one reference frame. So we are going to ascend in our helicopter, and as we do so, the velocity that we must retain of the velocity of the spinning Earth, which isn't moving underneath, giving us Coriolis deviation, will have to increase. Because as you raise in altitude off a presupposed sphere Earth, the circumference that you will traverse is increased as you increase in altitude. And if it is, as claimed in this farcical argument, which doesn't give you Coriolis proof of Earth spinning, claim that the retention of the velocity will be maintained as you raise in altitude, you would actually be violating the first law of thermodynamics, because you'd have to input energy. So it's a cluster screw. Adam, do you want to explain it in a bit more detail, because you actually did do the mathematics?
Yeah, I'm just thumbing through my scruffy handwriting, because I did it wrong first, didn't I? So there was yeah, okay. So yeah, basically, if you've got this, you give them that you carry the tangential speed, even though it's not tangential, it does require rotation. But if you allow it to keep curving and not be tangential, for the helicopter to hover there, the tangential speed that you would carry when you first took off is generated via the supposed radius, and that equal speed in lockstep atmosphere gives you a certain speed that it's going at. When you go higher, obviously the net effect is you increase the radius. Increasing the radius conversely increases the circumference, so that increases the total distance that you've got to go per degree for 360 degrees, which obviously means to cover the same amount of degrees to keep in lockstep hovering, you've got to go slightly faster the higher you go. And we did do a little bit of working out. I think the net difference in the circumferential distances was 19 kilometers. So when you add that in, that works out. Obviously, if you take that and divide it by 360 degrees in 24 hours of a supposed rotation of your bally Earth, that equates to an additional sideways movement, say, of 0.78 kilometers per hour.
Okay, this is where, hold on, hold your horses, everyone. This is where I interrupt. So at the start of this conversation, John jumped in before Adam and said it doesn't matter. And the reason is as follows. Yeah. The quantity of the increase is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you work it out to absolutely fractions of a millimeter by hovering only, centimeters above the ground. Essentially, as Adam's just pointed out, you've increased the radius, therefore you must increase the velocity. Therefore, qualitatively, you've got an increase, and therefore a first law of thermodynamics violation. The amount is irrelevant, which is why Quantum Eraser interrupted him and said it doesn't matter. As soon as you increase the radius, you've got to increase the velocity, because you're going to be increasing the overall distance, i.e. the circumference that you're travelling along is bigger. Therefore, first law of thermodynamics violation. The amount is irrelevant. Feel free to continue if you've got anything more to add on.
It is irrelevant because it's there. But just to quantify it, like I said, that equates to 780 meters an hour, so 13 meters per minute, or 20 centimeters a second. So it is significant, even though when you say it's 0.78 kilometers per hour, you think, oh, it's nothing. But actually, in terms of stabilizing a helicopter at that height. Now, if you go to a different height, his balancing point is different. This is the whole point. As you increase and change that altitude, the rate of alteration for stability changes. That would be noticeable, because what he's having to do to keep the helicopter stable, even in the same wind at different altitude, is adjust for this Coriolis at differing rates. So his stick would be in a different position, even if slightly. But as you see here, 20 centimeters a second is not an inconsequential distance, actually, if you're trying to hover in a stabilized spot. I've done.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam.
Perfect. You don't have to adjust. Hold on a second. You don't have to adjust for Coriolis effect, because the Coriolis effect is apparent. There is no adjustment with the parents.
Sorry.
Let me break that down.
The supposed attained tangential speed. Yeah.
So I've got to break that down as well. So the Coriolis deviation is an apparent deviation that you, if you were on a roundabout, would observe upon staying on the roundabout. So if you're making this observation of Coriolis deviation and the thing you're observing was a drone, then the drone is hovering. Now you're seeing it on the roundabout below it, seeming to move towards you and away from you. Seeming to. It's not, it's hovering. So that is the Coriolis force that you're observing, and not actual force because it's not actually moving. So to assert that a pilot, the little man inside the drone that flies it, obviously it's not, it's remote, but the little man inside the drone has got to account for this not actual deviation experience from someone on the non-inertial reference frame? No, that's preposterous. There is no accounting for Coriolis deviation. It's a not actual force. The hovering drone isn't moving and needs no accounting for anything. You, on the other hand, are observing a not actual deviation because you're rotating underneath. So an assertion that you need to account for a Coriolis deviation is preposterous.
But Nathan, you don't understand reference frames, and you don't move reference frames. Come on now.
Hold on.
You know better.
Hold on. Cat's Killer, is that you, Anthony?
Yeah, that's me.
Very quiet.
Am I dead loud?
Yeah, you're dead quiet.
Dead quiet. I just wanted to ask a question about the Coriolis, if I could. Adam.
I hate Coriolis. Go on. Feeling in nonsense.
You know, do you remember the two little helium water were in? Was it the action? They did
You're
two little
breaking up.
balloons that
Yeah,
expanded.
Anthony,
wrong.
Tony, you're breaking up bad.
You're breaking up, you're ruining the show. God, what's wrong with you?
Oh, okay, all right.
Join on the hangout.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
90 seconds, please, sir, at the end of the show.
Yeah, sure. Got about 15 minutes on the live show, and then we will have an after show if you're watching on Nathan Oakley.
I do want my shout out to be addressed, though. Nathan, you don't understand reference frames, and things don't move from different reference frames. You don't understand reference frames. Come on, Nathan.
You have no Coriolis.
Is that Zanuck, the forum guy?
I think if you want to try and weasel that into an accurate statement, then you would say that the observation of the not actual deflection wouldn't involve changing reference frames. So you remaining on the non-inertial spinning reference frame to observe the drone in my earlier example, seeming to come towards you and seeming to go away, well, that doesn't involve anything changing reference frames. Everything's staying in the same reference frame, so long as we start the example with the drone in the air. Now, if the drone was on the non-inertial spinning reference frame not in the air, and you push your up stick while sitting on the roundabout, so the remote stays on the non-inertial spinning reference frame, but the drone leaves the roundabout and starts to hover, well, then it's moved reference frames. It was spinning, now it's hovering. So the projectile absolutely does. And in some previous explanations, when at great full tilt describing stuff in, a discussion with someone like Zanuck, I've often said, you move reference frame. And when I say you, I'm referring to the projectile, as in the little man in the drone. When I say you, just an inaccurate, poorly phrased description from me. Because the observation takes place from a reference frame you will not move from. So in that respect, you could take that as an accurate statement. And it's nice that I've had it in this controlled way that I can take it to pieces. But that is presumably an offshoot of someone spotting that I incorrectly assert you move reference frames. Well, I'm talking about a ball and not you. That's just my incorrect phraseology.
Okay, but snipers, this one sniper that's accounted for it, and these hurricanes, Nathan, you know that these hurricanes, this is proof of Coriolis. You know this. Come on.
So no.
Go ahead.
Hurricane has an actual...
Hurricanes a real thing?
Go on, Chocolate, go ahead.
Hurricanes a real thing, aren't they?
But see, I'm hovering above them, and they're rotating. So that's evidence of Coriolis.
Yeah, but they're actually moving, right? Coriolis
Can't be
is an
hovering above
apparent
them, and that's proof of Coriolis, because you have to be on the non-inertial reference frame.
Exactly.
You moron.
Yeah, what forum did you got that from?
Any more for any more? Paul, any more?
No, that's it. I'm tired of playing Johnny.
No worries. I want to break it down more concisely. No worries. Just this wind argument. So again, Coriolis is a not actual deflection observed from a spinning reference frame. So in the case of a roundabout, you're spinning on the roundabout and you're observing the drone, not actually deviating, seeming to deviate. That's Coriolis. Now in the case of these hurricanes, they're not seeming to deviate because you're rotating underneath them. They're actual spin directions. So unless you're to claim, as Kosho, who's on the panel here, has once done, claim that they're actually moving in a straight line and just appear to deviate because you're rotating underneath, ludicrous when they're clearly actually rotating, not actually travelling in a straight line, that's stupid. So because they have actual spin directions, they're not apparent deviations, as you would observe in Coriolis deviation. A not actual force, a not actual spin direction, a not actually moving drone, in the example I gave earlier. It's static in its position, you're moving underneath. Well, the wind isn't static in its position or travelling in a straight line and seeming to curve because you're rotating underneath. It's actually rotating. So again, it's about as useless as the toilet example for proving Coriolis deviation. A not actual deviation observed because you rotate underneath. Not an actual spin direction in the form of a hurricane or a toilet flush. It's preposterous, garbage, asserted to confuse people.
Yep, that's what I classify it as.
And confused fellow retards. I mean, it's a joke. Toilet water spinning. My word, people.
Maybe they just don't understand what actual is and not actual.
Any scientific evidence for gravity?
Wait, before you do that though, what they do, I've caught you catch them on this too. They'll put you in the non-inertial reference, or you're actually in under the rhetoric. You're in the non-inertial reference frame. But when they use illustrations, they always put you in the inertial reference frame. There's a problem right off the bat. Does anybody see why?
Yeah, they're going to give you an example from the inertial reference frame because they don't actually experience deviation in Earth examples. So therefore, if they can have an example that takes place without deviation from the inertial reference frame and just beg the question that Earth rotates underneath, they no longer necessitate showing any deviation. Why? Well, we don't experience deviation, the very thing that would be proving Earth spins by way of Coriolis force. So the fact that we don't experience any Coriolis force needs a little magic trick. Put their observation in the inertial reference frame and just beg the question. Assert that Earth's rotating with the inertial reference frame. That should have
precisely.
That should have got.
Wouldn't that be a law of identity violation, or the fallacy of law or identity violation? Wouldn't that apply there? John,
maybe.
Yeah, because the non-inertial rotating reference frame is not the inertial reference frame. Yeah.
So we just discovered a new fallacy, another fallacy, the law of the identity violation.
Another nail in the coffin.
I'll just give an example of this. So this has happened on the show. Zanuck would describe you observing a roundabout by sitting on the park bench. So rather than describing you on the on the non-inertial spinning roundabout observing deviation as per Coriolis effect, you instead are observing what happens from a park bench. Well, the park bench is going to be the same reference frame that the ball travels in a straight line, i.e. it's not spinning. And then when you point that out, they'll just juxtapose that with, no, the park bench is spinning because I'm talking about Earth being spinning, even though he's giving an example with a roundabout. So they've got a little backdoor out to say, no, this is all taking place on a non-inertial spinning Earth, and beg the question that way. We've spotted every avenue in this argument. By the way, for anyone watching, this would be an address to any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, i.e. proof Earth spins, if that wasn't obvious.
And their Coriolis bullshit.
Yeah, Coriolis is what's asserted to prove Earth spins. A deviation because Earth spins underneath a football or a bullet. Well, the problem with that is that if it spins underneath a football, like asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, it goes through the goal because the Earth rotates underneath. Then it would also rotate underneath aeroplanes, and you'd have shortened durations when travelling west. Because Earth's rotating underneath to give you that deviation, they claim. So here in the trenches, they argue that we don't see any deviation. And the way they do it, as Paul's just pointed out, is to place the actual observation not from the spinning reference frame of a spinning Earth, but from space, watching from the inertial reference frame that the ball's travelling straight in. So they say, there you go, I'm seeing it travel straight. It's just a magic trick. Clever, but it's taken a fair while for us to unpick it. Well,
Nathan, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So, when we have seen demonstrations of Coriolis, let's say with a merry-go-round, that apparent deviation, is that being caused because of some movement into different latitudes?
No.
Oh, okay. Because some people seem to be confused as to the reasonings behind the actual Coriolis, well, the apparent Coriolis deviation.
Sorry, the one. I'm just going to shout out Truth Seeker says you need better Johnny Glowhead actors. Lol.
Actually shows deviation because it moves through latitudes.
Yeah, that's not
So
the case.
can we address that for a second?
I mean, you could argue that the effect when I describe the drone coming towards you and going away would be a more pronounced and less pronounced curve depending on where you sat on that rotating reference frame. But does it make any difference? No. You're observing a apparent deviation because you're rotating underneath. And again, it's a quantitative description. When you're looking for a qualitative effect, the deviation itself, regardless of the quantity or the type of deviation, or whether or not it's coming towards me or going away from me, depending on my part of the rotation on that roundabout, it makes no difference. If you have the deviation or not is what you require. And the simple fact is we see no deviation in any Earth-based example that is beyond maybe a 2-second hang time, like the ball asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. But fortunately for us, in asserting that the Earth rotates underneath the football, he ultimately opens up the argument to, well, why doesn't it rotate under an aeroplane? It's also in the inertial reference frame like the ball example. The reason is they assert a 2-second hang time because they don't need people to recognise the fact that Earth would rotate under a drone, under a helicopter, under an aeroplane, under a bullet, under anything that's not attached to a claim to be spinning Earth. But we never see the effect. Hence their need for a little magic trick here in the trenches and placing you out in space watching from the inertial reference frame when it's supposed to be an observation from the non-inertial reference frame.
Let's finish him off with the scientific method.
I mean, that's pretty funny considering we've heard that a helicopter, won't start to show this apparent deviation until it changes latitudes. But yet, a pendulum swinging back and forth will show it. A football kicked will have the Earth rotating underneath it. But yet, are those changing latitudes causing Coriolis?
No, and again, the position regards to the spin rotation is irrelevant if you're observing a claim to be deviation because Earth rotates underneath. If the pendulum is demonstrating that Earth rotates underneath, likewise with a gyroscope, then Earth's rotating underneath an inertial reference frame that the aeroplane's travelling in or the drone's hovering in. So in my roundabout example, analogous to Earth being the roundabout, the drone leaves the spinning platform and you observe it deviate because you continue to rotate and the drone's left the roundabout. So likewise, you push up on a drone on a claim to be spinning Earth and you will observe it deviate. It will land somewhere different because the Earth rotates underneath like it rotated underneath Neil deGrasse Tyson's football. But it doesn't happen. You can push up on your drone and but for a bit of breeze it will land precisely where it took off from. Same with a helicopter. Helicopters can hover. And to assert that they aren't because Earth and atmosphere travel as one would require a first law of thermodynamics violation. To create the energy needed to have the circumference that they're travelling at a greater rate come into effect to maintain a hovering position. In other words, you have several, well, in this instance only one, a natural law violation to assert a cause for not observing proof Earth spins. That's how convoluted it gets. Now, that might seem convoluted to somebody who's just come to this show today for the first time, but believe it or not, my explanation right now is about as concise as the argument can be taken apart, and it still takes about 2 or 3 minutes.
Can I just insert for 15 seconds that it must sucks to be a globehead and knowing that science is on the side of flat earthers, just killing them. I
agree. I was saying it to John Watson in the chat yesterday. This has got a sting. So QE's requested 90 seconds before we round out the live show. So now is your moment.
John.
Go ahead, QE.
Yeah, that was a perfect segue. So what we have here in Shangri-La is what I term the game. Please go on mute.
Flatside, can you go on mute? Flatside.
My word, people.
That's it. Go ahead.
As I was
Sorry,
saying,
my phone unmuted itself.
Oh my God.
I'm on mute. Go ahead.
I'm on mute too.
I'm on.
Are we all done with the jokes now?
Over.
That stuff.
So, like I said, it was a perfect segue into what we have here in Shangri-La is what I term the game. We have the pseudoscience religions, astronomy, astrophysics, cosmology, paleontology, geology, anthropology, archaeology, evolutionary biology. Yeah, I'm still laughing. Theoretical physics. Crocheting is more scientific than all these clowns combined. Why? Well, the pretender clowns above can't follow the scientific method. Science. Duh. Because the pseudoscience priests from the religions know that Joe Globy and spinning Sally masses, i.e. you, ball-tard spinning space monkeys, wouldn't know what actual science or basic reasoning was if it landed on your head, spun around, and whistled Dixie. They, the pseudoscience priests, then can pretty much pontificate anything under the term science via clumsy equivocation fallacy and second-grade linguistic word game gymnastics and have their brain-dead religious hordes from their congregations mindlessly parrot any and all manner of blatant pseudoscience religious propaganda, i.e. fairy tales, that they hear directly from them or the metric tons of sermons posted on their church's website, Wiki, Google, Discovery Channel, and or thousands of affiliate websites. However, when the pseudoscience priest or anyone from the congregation is directly challenged by anyone with a 5th grade general science acumen or better and or can fog a mirror, they then call the challenger names, pick an appeal, ridicule, fallacy, triggered, why you so angry, akin to the tactics employed on a 2nd grade playground, carpet bomb a barrage of logical fallacies, contradict themselves with every other breath, and muster their horrors and appeal to the consensus fallacy of their pseudoscience congregationers and priests. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It's simply pseudoscience religion. Duh. Parrot incessantly by fanatical indoctrinated wankers spinning space monkey ball-tards that couldn't tell the difference between a Bunsen burner and a beach ball. Then they rail against religion with voracious anger, all the while being neck deep in one. Scientifically falsified religion, by the way. It's mind-numbing fuckwittery. Thanks, Globetard goobers, for perfectly illustrating. The end. We're coming after you. Thanks.
And with that, I'll say if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Yeah, that was a great rant.
Excellent. Very good.
Nathan, your rant to music was pretty awesome too, man.
I can't say that straight after QE's little rant. Immediately compliment me on one that's been trimmed out for me. Great rant, QE. Excellent.
Well, I had to give him the props that he deserved like the little freedom banter right there because it was a nice little speech. So yeah, both of you guys, man.
Yeah, reality and scientific method are on the side of flat Earth.
You got another show, Nathan?
There will be a second show on the second channel, so yeah, I'll just round out this one and then.
All right, I'll be back in a few.
Yeah, now glow cats are dreaming Nathan Oakley and Quantum Razor nightmares all night long.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm not kidding. There's so many reports of depressed, fundy globe heads. Obviously, you normies aren't going to be concerned with this subject, but with a bit of empathy, you can put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were in their position? It would be disturbing, to say the least. Fighting against an unwinnable battle in regards to the arguments we have here. We're not suddenly finding that they've come up with an answer, and they know it.
They're fighting the windmills, man.
I mean, it's ever more apparent that they're searching for answers. And they're not even doing that because now what they're doing is when they can't find an answer, they change things. Like, wiki, definitions of cause and effect,
Yeah, well, the internet takes off a lot of info that argument.
Them changing things, Chocolate. The example you were talking in regards to planes in Coriolis is a great example. I've not heard a baller explain this differential point very well yet, so it's not really going to get addressed for a bit. But that's a great example of them changing the globe posts to mitigate for the reason that planes don't fly shorter distances one direction. This interest of the differential, but again, it's something that if they do persist with it, the implications of it are very funny, especially if you take the equator to the North Pole, what the plane would be doing. But
this is why I've had such a good time with this, in particular citation given to us by Kosho, because it clearly explains the reasonings behind the apparent Coriolis effect. But yet, when he posts it, he says the reasonings are something else completely, i.e. of said aircraft into different latitudes. It's like, wait a minute, so you're saying that there is no Coriolis effect in East and West. So then why are there supposed snipers making videos about shooting East and West and how that accounts for it? So they don't even have their own rhetoric, on Smash between themselves. Go ahead. Okay.
Coriolis is like gravity.
Yeah, non-existent.
Yeah, prove the Earth spins, and then we can argue Coriolis. Dumb fucks.
The argument might be a bit like gravity, but Coriolis is real. You can experience Coriolis force just, like I say, with a drone in a roundabout or just tossing a ball off a roundabout. So they've used it because it's confusing in terms of the phraseology about reference frames. It's confusing in terms of who's observing the effect and where they're observing it from, whether or not it's an actual force that you need to observe, what the actual thing that's rotating and experiencing rotation, as opposed to not actually experiencing the very thing that's being described in the not actual deflection. So there's plenty of room for obfuscation and magic trickery in terms of convincing somebody of a non-inertial reference frame when described by Paul, putting it into the inertial reference frame for an observation of something that takes place on an inertial reference frame so that you can beg the question of an Earth spin. It's all very convoluted and open for magic trickery and confusion in the person listening to the argument.
Not flying here, bowlers. Not flying here.
If I may. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, if one tries to quantify this Coriolis effect that's supposed to be there as the Earth spins and we're on the surface, so stuff gets left behind, essentially, as the Earth spins underneath it, then the value you come up with is a very, very small acceleration. They say it's very small, which is 0.03 meters per second squared. All right? So 0.03 meters per second square means 3 centimeters per second square, which is a little bit over an inch. So assuming you've got a frictionless or almost frictionless something in front of you, like, I don't know, maybe ice or just water, that means that if you apply the formula to find what distance that travels because of the Coriolis force, that would be half of the acceleration. So let's say that's half an inch, a little bit over than half an inch, times the second squared. So that means that during the first second, like if you start clocking it, during the first second, whatever it is that gets left behind because of Coriolis will move half an inch, and between seconds 1 and second 2, it will move the square of that, and so forth in this fashion. So it will just begin accelerating towards the equator. So how is this very small again?
Okay, what you're mathematically quantifying is the deviation that you'll observe. And without seeing the maths, I'm not going to accuse you of trying to calculate a force that's not actually a force yet. But nevertheless, your calculations are for the deflection and how much deflection you will observe. However, if you were to take an aeroplane that's simply travelling west and staying on the same line of latitude, you wouldn't need to calculate any deviation whatsoever. You'd actually just be accounting for Earth rotating underneath at a rapid rate and, say for the sake of argument, Los Angeles coming towards you as you travelled from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, in that instance, your maths wouldn't really be very useful for any calculation of deviation because there wouldn't be any deviation at all. You'd just have LA arrive in an hour and a half rather than 4.5 hours, as is actually the case. So while I appreciate your mathematics for deflection and the increased amount of this apparent force known as Coriolis, it makes no odds because the cause, the thing that would be necessitated to make this calculation, would be an Earth that rotates underneath an inertial reference frame.
Yeah, and can I quickly summarize what the bowler's claim is? The claim of the bowlers is that Earth spins around its axis, then the axis spins around, wobbles, then the Earth spins around the Sun, and the Sun spins around the galaxy, and then our solar system wobbles up and down during that spin around the galaxy, and then the whole galaxy moves around the universe. So account for that.
It's all a load of old nonsense. We're not moving a smegging inch.
Who was the one who just brought up Coriolis in the speech?
I think it was Dances with Fools.
Yeah, I'd like to address
Hello.
that. Hi. let me address something, if I may. Have you been to an air show, or have you been anywhere where a high-speed vehicle of anything passes you by?
Sure.
Okay.
Before everybody jumps on him,
I'm not jumping.
I think he was making
not jumping.
a positive point with his small numbers. I grasped a different point. He was saying it isn't insignificant. It's an acceleration. Therefore,
Correct.
even though it's small after the first second, it becomes massive.
Yeah, that's why.
It's not 0.03
Exactly.
seconds. Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. I'm not jumping on him. I am saying that the numbers or the math that he used is wrong. That's what I want to address. They say the Earth is spinning at 1,038 miles per hour at the equator. Now, Mach 1 is 750 miles, I believe, per hour. So if you've ever been to an air show, you could see that speeds of 300, 400 miles per hour is pretty fast. That whizzes by you. So if you were to be on the equator and you wanted to test this Coriolis, you would have to convert 1,038 miles per hour into feet per second. And that would be over 1,500 feet per second. It would move at the equator, and less depending, as you go up. But let's just use the equator. So over 1,500 feet of movement or deviation would have to be experienced if the Earth was actually spinning underneath another object. This wasn't the math that he used. He said it was a very small amount of math. I'm saying in order to actually prove Coriolis, you have to convert the speed of the Earth turning at 1,038 into feet per second and start there, not a small amount.
No, this is where they're trying to mitigate it. So this is where Nathan's point destroys it, because they're trying to say it's not rotating, even though it is rotating. It's just a differential in the rotation speeds because the plane carries the tangential speed.
Well, that's doubles.
Says in lockstep. It's all nonsense because it is underdone by Nathan's firm point that if that's the case, then we've not got Coriolis. But we're talking that math is exactly presupposition that you allow. But the point of it is that even if you do allow it, what they've tried to purport as a very small number isn't a small number because it's an acceleration per second. And so that multiplies to the square massively over a very short time.
You just said what they say, and you're correct. The atmosphere is spinning with the Earth. So then no deviation. So stop your Coriolis nonsense then.
Yeah.
But they won't. And since they've already on the record saying the Earth, the non-inertial reference plane frame is the Earth, and that's moving at 1,038. And the bullet above the Earth, west to east, east to west, north, south, south, north, it wouldn't matter. The Earth is spinning. And you have to say, what rate is the Earth spinning when I do my calculation to see how much deviation I should have? Well, if you're at the equator, it's 1,038 miles per hour. It's over 1,500 feet per second. And we should be able to see that. That is the real math. Now, if you show me that, then, okay, we can start saying maybe the Earth is spinning.
You're correct, 10th man. But the point he's representing, so he started his example on like an icy floor with virtually no friction, but you're still essentially attached. So you can make an exaggerated, detailed example of the retention of the velocity transferring to, say, a puck on ice. And if that's a rotating platform, his example is to say that even though you're going to retain that velocity initially, as it accelerates, it's going to be amplified considerably as time elapses. Therefore, I suppose, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but in the case of the drone lifting off the roundabout, you could argue that within the first fractions of a second, it's also being pushed whichever direction the spin is, just as it takes off. But within fractions of a second, it's just hovering. It's no longer attached to the reference frame. But if you drag out that tiny fraction of a second and give it an example on ice, you can then quantify that out with the mathematics that Dances with Fools did, to say you'd still have a massive amount of acceleration as time progressed. Correct?
I try to keep it very simple. That is so long-winded.
It is, but he's representing their argument where they say, "Oh, I'm 10th man," but he's representing where they say, "No, they're attached. They are as one. You would retain the velocity," and he's then explaining the flaws within that argument. Even though you're correct, and if you've only got a small deviation, as they would say, because it's retaining the velocity, and there's your Coriolis effect. Well, no, it would suddenly get much, 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 much bigger as time went on. I just want to check with. I just want to check with Dances with. Hold on, 10th man. I just want to check with Dances with Wolves that I've represented his position correctly, because Adam's right. Initially, I didn't fully understand his point.
Yeah, that was a pretty good summary, actually.
Good, because
that's
fine.
I'd like
great.
to respond to that.
Go ahead, 10th man. Sorry.
If that's what they want to say at that point, and not deal with the actual numbers, I would say, so then there is no deviation and there is no Coriolis if the Earth spins with the atmosphere lockstep. Then you're changing your whole argument now.
No,
which it doesn't.
You're tickling the bollocks for a little bit, and then you're giving them a good tug at the end. Yeah, that's all. It's just you're playing along with their nonsense, but pointing out the errors in their nonsense if you accept their nonsense.
Yeah, but even still given that explanation, you still have to prove that something spins.
Just let me try once more with 10th man. So it's a different angle. In other words, the angle that we've taken in there, begging the question argument and just saying Earth's rotating underneath, but it's not deviating. Helicopter can hover, it's retaining the velocity. Well, that would be to have that effect, violating the first law. Now, what Dances with Fools has done is preempted their next line of attack in that regard, which is to say, well, no, it's not violating the first law because it is slightly drifting, just not very much. It's really small. It retains the velocity because Earth and atmosphere travel as one, and yeah, you get a little bit of deviation, but it would only take a slight manoeuvre on the helicopter to correct for that because it's so small. However, when you run through the mathematics, no, you've got I don't know if what the sign would be, but the wave would be increasing. The amount would be noticeable as time progressed, and that's how he's explaining an undoing of an argument that hasn't actually been put forth by a globehead. He's done it in a very clever way, actually.
I'm not missing the point he's making. What I'm trying to say is that I don't want to argue in the fallacy. So do you need one or do you need two reference frames for Coriolis to happen in the first place?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, that's where it is just humoring.
Well, if they say one, then it's the lockstep argument, and I'm humoring them. If they say two, then ball game over. Why argue a fallacy? Why argue the next little itty bitty way of humor? Either the Earth is spinning underneath me or it's not.
Yeah, you're never going to be wrong in that assertion.
Yeah, it's just silly to argue the minute differences of a lockstep and eventually, well, you're wrong in that argument when you just have to say, how many reference frames do you need for Coriolis effect to be observed? One or two? The minute he says two, there goes the lockstep. It's over. If he says one, then why is he even talking about Coriolis?
Yeah, doesn't meet the criteria.
Doesn't meet the criteria. It's over.
Yeah, I agree. But I still appreciate what Dances with Fools has done, because there has been several occasions that I've pondered how he's explained it and what the undoing would be. Although when he explained it now, that didn't click until Adam stepped in and pointed out my ignorance. I was, again, smiling from ear to ear as Adam does his wrap my knuckles twice on this show. The first was even better. Nosing down, right, Adam? Oh no, well, maybe not. You're so subtle and you're doing it as well. I knew I was having my knuckles wrapped. I was smiling though, I promise.
There's just one other point of Dances. Can I just ask you? You've talked about that, Maths. There is the other supposition that when you leave and you're given this tangential speed, it's basically a vector, which you then apply to everything else that the plane's doing and at every point, just to mathematically. But of course, this vector is created and applied at the point of the plane leaving, and at that point, the direction of the vector is relative to where the ball is, and now it's spinning. As the ball continues to spin, the relative position of the vector changes also with the angle of spin. So it not only changes its speed, it will also change the orientation of the vector. So instead, as they're claiming you go north, it changes the speed. Actually, with time, as the rotation occurs, that will change the orientation of the vector, because the vector stays at the original point, but everything else is changing in and of itself around it. Now, that would also include change with respect to orientation around the sun and the galaxy and the universe as well. But that would also change the orientation of that vector. So you'd have to recalculate that as well to understand how this lockstepedness is actually affecting it, because once you apply the vector at the beginning, it doesn't reorientate. Does that make sense, anyone?
Yeah, gotcha. And just one small clarification: speed of sound is 761 at sea level. It changes with altitude, just so that any blockhead doesn't pick on that.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's live and after show panel for making this show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!